Today's presentation, we're really going to focus on the title, essentially, Accelerating and Enhancing Sales Productivity. The main focus of this conversation will focus on the CRM side, but we also will talk about HubSpot as a whole and a little bit of how that translates into marketing and connects it. So, we'll really try to focus on the sales team, the sales user, and then the sales manager on why HubSpot is probably, in our opinion, the best tool out there for really giving them the tools they need to be productive, but then also kind of connecting that sales, marketing, and service hub. First thing we're going to do, let's see if my mouse is working here. We'll cover some of the different things today. As I mentioned, we'll talk real briefly here about who we are, what we do as a company, as the Vendilli Digital Group, the title, why we're talking about it, why it's important to you as business people, the what, which Lauren will cover, which is the actual sales tools themselves and how they actually do help salespeople. The last portion there that I will cover is the how and how to get started with HubSpot. Some of you may have already been exposed to it in limited capacities, and some may be completely new, but I'll cover a little bit about that process and how it translates to working with a HubSpot partner as well. Then at the end, we'll just kind of free form any questions, any answers, we'll be happy to address. So to introduce ourselves, I'm John Caruso. I'm our Director of Business Development at Vendilli Digital Group. A little background on me. I've worked in marketing communications for coming up on 10 years, just shy of it. I've worked in traditional branding capacities all the way through website design development, digital and inbound marketing. I'm a 4-year graduate of La Roche College from right down the road, where I played baseball, studied marketing and business management. And then outside of work, I'm usually hunting, fishing, and messing around in my garden. So that's me, I think.
That's
Lauren,
a pretty impressive intro. I don't know how I'm going to top that. I'm Lauren. I am the account manager at Vendilli Digital Group. As the account manager, I am talking with clients day to day, working with them on strategy and helping them to achieve their goals. I've worked in HubSpot for a little over 5 years now, I want to say. It's a fantastic tool. I'm super excited to be talking about it today, and letting you guys know how it can work in your business. I don't have any super fun hobbies or activities outside of work. I'm usually watching like really terrible TV or hanging out with my friends. So that's me.
Awesome. So who we are as a company, I guess, Lauren, we can both kind of talk a little bit about this, but I'll give the brief since I usually spiel this story in sales conversations anyway. Vendilli Digital Group is roughly about a 10-year-old company. Our owner and founder, Chris Vendilli, actually has a very interesting story where he was a 4-year Air Force veteran, and when he left the Air Force, came back to Pittsburgh, and started with the Pittsburgh Police Department as a plainclothes officer for a couple of years. After those few years, he actually transitioned and moved into their computer forensics department as a detective. And I believe he spent about 7 years there. Don't quote me on those numbers. And he spent that time there, and like any Pittsburgh police or firefighter, they all have profitable hobbies or side gigs on the side. Chris has happened to be building and helping people with their websites under the name Pro From Go Marketing. So for about, I believe, 7 years thereafter, Pro From Go Marketing kind of started and blossomed. And as Chris puts it, the side gig kind of grew faster than he anticipated, and it grew to the point where he decided to take that full time and become Pro From Go Internet Marketing. Flash forward to, I believe, last year in October, I believe. We actually decided, based on a merger with another local company, we decided to rebrand the company from Pro From Go Internet Marketing to Vendilli Digital Group. Lauren, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the services we offer so I'm not continually blabbing.
Yeah, that's okay. So as you can see, we do everything from branding and strategy to digital advertising, SEO, inbound marketing, and HubSpot implementation, onboarding, ongoing service with that. So like I mentioned before, as an account manager, that's typically how I spend my days, is working with clients and helping them create their strategy related to any of those services. And then I think I forgot to mention another really big part that we work with is website design. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great to mention, is the website design is the primary service that we really focus on, and kind of spawns the conversations into the other services that we offer. And it's also good to mention too that we work with a variety of different companies and different industries, all the way down to mom and pop shop, all the way up to multi-million-dollar corporations in multiple different countries. So
yeah, and also B2B to B2C. So
yeah, kind of generalist, as we like to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So again, today what we'll be covering is the why, the what, and the how. The first part I'm really going to focus on is the why. Why does this all matter? Kind of building a nice rationale for why it's important to even consider this, or why it's important for a business to actually implement these types of softwares and strategies and programs. Lauren's going to cover the what, talking about the actual sales tools themselves. Lauren actually uses them every day. I use them every day too, but Lauren really helps people use them and utilize them. And then the last is just strategy and implementation, how working with a HubSpot partner can be very beneficial. I think we offer some different unique things than maybe just a general onboarding. So to get started, again, the why, improving sales productivity. The first point I wanted to bring up is, what do we actually hire salespeople to do? We hire them to sell, right? But in my experience with working with a lot of organizations, and in my experience as a salesperson myself, a lot of business owners out there, they hire the salesperson and then they stick them out on an island and say, good luck, make us money. It's frustrating, it's tough. Selling is hard. Anyone that tells you it's not, they're either lying or they're cheating. I just thought Tom Hanks was a really funny example here, because you feel like you're stranded, you want to scream, you have no one to talk to, no one to help you, and it's frustrating. So I think we need to really start looking at changing our perspective of how we help salespeople. I know a lot of organizations that are successful really focus on having a sales manager that's there to help the salesperson, not so much count the beans in the sales. And that's a big difference, and a thing I think is good to note, to focus on. So what does a salesperson cost? This is another thing. Everything is money driven in this world, and I found this wonderful stat, and this is just on average, so I'm sure a larger organization, these numbers are a bit higher, and on the smaller side, likewise. But the typical new cost to hire a salesperson, you have $15,000 roughly in hiring costs, $20,000 in training, and then an average of $75,000 in just first year salary and incentives. That's a lot of money. I don't care what size organization you are, that's a big chunk of change. So if we're not helping our salespeople and they're frustrated, they're burnt out, and they're leaving quickly, that's a big investment that is, right out the window, as my little baby friend is showing up there.
Baby friend.
Thank you. So how do sales reps spend their time? As you said, we're just going to put them on an island. This is some of the rationale for that island that I speak of. The first one up there is that 36% of the time, salespeople are working on revenue-generating tasks. 36% of the time. So we hire them to sell, but are they really selling? Only a third of the time they really are. So I thought that was really crazy when you actually think about it. But then as I thought about it as myself, it really is about 30% of the time. But I think most organizations would like that number to be higher. I know personally I would like it to be higher, especially if you're mutually beneficial, and if I make money, the company makes money, so on and so forth. So again, down below, 63% of the time are non-revenue generating activities. So we hire them to sell, but we're actually asking them to do a lot more than sell. This is where a lot of HubSpot comes into play. So how are they spending their time? This one really stuck out to me. 27% of salespeople are spending an hour more on data entry a day. That's crazy. Literally sitting down and typing something into a document. With HubSpot, you'll see, as Lauren covers and we talk about it more, HubSpot eliminates a lot of that. And for me as a salesperson, it's tremendously valuable. The last thing I want to do is sit down and retype what I said all day. If any of you had a conversation, long, lengthy, heady one with someone, and then say 4 hours later you have to remember that conversation and actually put it into something, it would drive you nuts. And do that every day. This was a cool chart. I forget where I found it. I believe it was in a HubSpot presentation that Kyle Jepson put together. He does a lot on their knowledge-based side and training. So it was a really interesting breakdown of how salespeople are actually spending their time. So that 15% of the time they're actually working on administrative tasks. The next one's external meetings, which that's a good thing. External meetings are sales conversations, so we want them spending time there. This 11.6 is research. I don't know what they mean by research, if that is researching information internally or if that's researching actual prospects. It could be a blend of both, but that one didn't alarm me too much, but it still is concerning. 11% general follow-up, that's great. Prospecting, 10, great. There's sales time there. Internal meetings, 8% of the time. That's a little bit of an alarm as well. I know most organizations that are effective, a lot of the structures they follow, they just have their sales meeting just on Friday. That's it. The rest of the week, you're selling. So that was interesting to me as well. 7% of travel, and the rest are kind of pretty nominal. I did want to call out here that administrative task and the research one, how that breaks down and why it's concerning. I think you'll see some more in the actual sales tools of ways to kind of mitigate that and save some time in those spaces. So these were some, I guess, eye-opening stats based on that foundation that we laid. 61% of businesses actually leveraging automation reported exceeding revenue targets in 2020. I think that speaks for itself that, you know, the companies that are investing heavily in sales and marketing automation and technologies are really actually seeing the benefits and they're reporting it. I think a lot of times when we have sales conversations with people about HubSpot, they say, you know, oh, it's pretty expensive. I don't know if I want to do that right now. And it can be expensive, don't get me wrong. But I think when you're seeing these kinds of statistics, it's almost a no-brainer to take that expense, because if you don't do it now, you're going to have to do it later. The cost of inaction is very, very high. And you know, whether or not you're performing now or performing 5 years from now, that's a big difference. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but I oftentimes really suggest, you know, swallowing it. The last one down there is data accessibility for salespeople shortens your sales cycle by 8 to 14%, which doesn't sound huge, but that could be the difference in 1 or 2 deals on a year. I don't think there's a company out there that would hate their salespeople bringing in 1 or 2 more deals a year. I think that would tremendously change an organization for the long run, so I wanted to include that as well. So how does sales technology help? Again, Lauren's going to cover some of these tools, but I wanted to call them out just to get them in the back of your head and rattling around. On average, how many emails does it take to actually schedule a meeting? The actual answer is 8. That's absurd. Like, it's just crazy. Why would you even want anyone spending that time back and forth? HubSpot's meeting tool, which Lauren will cover, kind of eliminates that, and it's really amazing. I use it all the time. I love it as a salesperson. It saves me time. It saves our prospects or our sales conversations. It saves them time, and it makes them happy. So the data entry, stop typing so much. You're a salesperson. You've already said it. You've talked about it. You shouldn't have to type it all that much. We'll look at snippets, templates, how those types of things actually save you time as well. The automation feature, we won't get into too heavily today. It's kind of a fickle beast, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
But it is good to note. The automation does save you time. It starts to weaponize some tasks and repeatable processes in a way that saves you time and then helps nurture prospects. The next one, gaining alignment between sales, marketing, and service. It's kind of HubSpot's mantra. They have a flywheel that actually talks about when you align all of these things, it starts to spin. And it creates this great process where not only are your sales prospects happy, your clients are happy, and then whenever they need something from you in a service standpoint, it's covered and it's all aligned. And then the internal teams actually see all of this communication internally. We're all connected, we're all having the same conversations or better conversations, and it really helps. The next thing, accessible information. The ability to work from one spot as a salesperson is so nice. A lot of organizations in the past that I've worked at, there's this document here, you got to manage it in here, and once you change it there, you have to go here. It just becomes ludicrous, and it all contributes to burnout in a salesperson where you're like, I have to do so many extra steps to this process in order to get across the finish line. Managing it all in one place and consolidating it really makes it easy. And then it'll also kind of help with buy-in and adoption. I know, training someone new in a CRM can be daunting, and they even feel a little bit of pressure to learn it and learn it fast. Having it all accessible in one spot really helps eliminate that and gets people really comfortable with the software and builds equity over time. Follow-up and task management, which pretty much every CRM out there has this now. It's standard with HubSpot as well, but it's great to mention that's a feature. And then the last, how it all contributes down to a better customer experience at the end of the day. Again, connecting sales, marketing, and service, and aligning that internally as a team really provides the best customer experience for your clients. And when your clients are happy, they stay working with you. You actually build upon adding new clients. That's how we grow businesses. It makes sense. So, got that. Lauren's going to go ahead and walk you through some of the different sales tools and then how they actually do affect change and help people out in a sales capacity.
Yeah, so John just explained all the reasoning for why it's important to invest in these tools. So like he mentioned, I will talk through what those tools are. So I'm going to start off with templates. I know personally that there are specific emails that I find myself sending over and over again to clients or new clients. And in HubSpot, you can create templates, email templates, that you can send over and over again without having to retype the content every single time. You are still able to customize these however you would like. And HubSpot also has what it's called personalization tokens. So it can pull data that's on contact records or company records that are specific to that contact. So as you are customizing your hub, you can put in custom properties, and it can be anything that relates to how you sell or information that's very important to you. So you can, add a token in there that says, hey, I know that your favorite color is this. Like, let me tell you more about whatever. So that's really important. Something that is similar to that is snippets. Now these are shorter blocks of text that you can just insert into templates, or also emails that you're sending out of your inbox. I know at Vendilli, personally, we have kind of a complicated parking situation at the office. So anytime we're onboarding a new client or someone's coming to visit the office, we've created a snippet of text that is parking direction. So I'll just insert that into my email and I can send it off without having to retype it every time or messing up the directions, because I tend to do that. So that's super helpful. Also something that you can insert into your templates, snippets, emails, are documents. In HubSpot, you have like this central spot where you can upload sales collateral, checklists, brochures, white papers, anything like that. And when you want to send it to a prospect or a customer, you just send them the link and you get a lot of data related back from that link. So you can see whenever someone's clicking on the link, how much time they've spent viewing each page. And then you also get that information and you can follow up with that person if you haven't talked to them in a while. So it's kind of creepy, but also very helpful.
I was going to say one thing to add to that as well. For a larger organization, it's nice as well that HubSpot actually gives the marketing team controls to control and manage what documents are available in there.
Yes.
That way you don't have, say, a large sales force. You might have some people going rogue and saying, I want to create this on my own. It doesn't follow your brand standards. The marketing team actually has control to lock and say, no, these are the documents that are available. So
Yep.
everything that's going out is consistent. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, that's mine.
So John mentioned this in one of his earlier slides, and it's also one of my favorite tools in HubSpot, which is the meetings link. So instead of going back and forth over email trying to determine a meeting time, I tend to realize that by the time we decide on a time, I've already been overbooked and we have to go back to square one. You can send this meetings link, and it looks like this, and it gives a calendar view of when you're available. So this syncs directly with your calendar, and you can customize it so you can give them specific durations of time they can meet with you, and you also can determine how far out or how close they can book with you. You can also have meetings in your hub that's not just you, but also you and other people on your team. So I know that John and I have a meetings link that we'll send out if we're trying to schedule something together. You also can sync your Zoom or Microsoft Teams to meetings, so whenever someone books you, it can automatically have that link on the calendar invite, which also is super convenient and saves you a little bit of time. So tasks, I think John also mentioned this. You can use tasks to remind your future self of things that you have to do, like follow up with prospects. And you can also use this on a variety of records, like deal records, contacts, and company records. So deals. So this is a screenshot of what a deal pipeline looks like. This is in our test hub. Sorry, John, not to call you out, but this is not what John's pipeline looks like. It's very close, very close. So deals are fantastic. This is how you can keep an eye on all of your open and closed opportunities. And this is good for the sales team and also sales managers, so they can keep an eye on, what's potential to close and what, still has a little bit of time. You can keep a variety of notes, emails, everything related to the deal on the deal record. So again, that visibility is seen across the team and management as well. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And then another one of my favorite tools is sequences. This is an automated email series that you can send out to prospects or customers. It's supposed to help nurture those contacts over a specific time. You have a lot of customization with it, however many emails you want to send, how long of a duration between emails. And then whenever someone responds to an email, it takes them out of that sequence, so they're not automatically being sent an email that they shouldn't see. We always like to include this screenshot of a sequence that Chris actually used to use. It would send one email, a follow-up email, and then if they didn't reply to the second email, they would receive this GIF of Will Ferrell crying, drinking a glass of wine, saying, "I miss you," and basically saying, I get it, I'll stop bothering you. And he actually, I think he said it was a very successful sequence.
Yeah, usually by this stage, I think a lot of people are like, that was hilarious, all right, I'll talk.
Yeah. And you can use the templates that I mentioned earlier in these sequences, and also snippets in the other tools within HubSpot. So. I did want to mention that there are a ton of integrations in HubSpot's ecosystem that you can integrate with your Sales Hub. This includes Office 365, Gmail, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and we personally love integrating it with Slack. So those tools that I was mentioning, like snippets, templates, documents, whenever you pull up an email in your Gmail or your Office 365, you'll get a drop down where you can automatically insert those templates or those documents right in your inbox. So you don't even have to go into your hub to use those. And those will automatically log and track. So once you go into your hub and open up a contact record, you'll see all that information in there. HubSpot also gives you a specific email address. I believe it's your hub ID. So if you ever forget to log an email, you can just forward it to that email address and it will match it to the email address in your hub, and it will log for you. So it's super convenient.
So strategy and implementation. This section is going to be a lot of centered around getting started with HubSpot and how to do so. I'll start it off with, if you are interested in buying HubSpot, we hope that you'll call us. We prefer as a partner to kind of help people get customized in there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So if you're already in HubSpot, you probably have experienced some of this in working with a partner or will be in the near future. So some of the things I'm going to cover is working with a HubSpot partner, why that's kind of important. I know a lot of people that I've talked to in the past have purchased HubSpot. They purchased it through HubSpot. They somewhat set it up. And then I talked to them 2 or 3 years later, and they said, yeah, we don't really do anything in there. We're going to help you avoid that. So that's a big point to bring up. The onboarding process typically that we follow, what we like to do there, it is unique by every organization, but this is a rough framework that I'll explain on how we follow that by understanding your business use, customizing it, and then how we train and implement it for your organization. The last two are very important things that I think a lot of people forget when implementing a CRM or an automation tool, and that's gain traction and buy-in. If your users aren't going to use it, then what's the point? We want to make sure that they're actually using it, because that moves on to the next step where you start to build equity in it when everyone's using it. It starts to become more powerful for your organization, and you start to ingrain it in your culture. I think once that happens, you'll start to see the true actual benefits of having a connected platform such as HubSpot. So working with a HubSpot partner, should you work with HubSpot or should you work with a partner? I'll be very careful in what I say here because we work with HubSpot. HubSpot does a great job. They sell a lot of HubSpot to a lot of companies. I will say that we found that their training and implementation or onboarding is very general. They talk a lot about the tools, how to use them. They kind of say, here you go, get started, you're on your own. I believe even HubSpot would prefer that you work with a partner. They say all the time in their communications that you get more value in working with a partner agency, and that's why we have such a close relationship with HubSpot as a partner or a platinum partner. They understand that the more value you get as a user means the longer you'll stay on HubSpot. So it's a two-way street, and we understand that. So if you're considering HubSpot, I definitely say reach out to a partner before you actually just go buy from HubSpot. I think you'll get a little bit more value, and I'll explain to you a little bit why. The next thing is access to HubSpot's resource library. At either end, you're basically going to get access to this. Their knowledge base is a incredibly in-depth area to learn about HubSpot. Their academy is very awesome as well. I'll explain a little bit about where we recommend that for your sales teams or even your marketing teams and why we recommend that. And then the last thing I would say as far as why to work with a partner agency is that they're going to spend more time on you and your business. I believe some of you here have experienced that even in an hour, blocked hour call to do onboarding, we'll sometimes go farther if we need to. It's just what we do as a partner, and we really try to provide value there. So what to expect? I want to make sure I don't have more slides here covering these. Okay, good. So what to expect? Typically what we follow in our onboarding process for sales and for Marketing Hub implementation, we usually like to set up a strategy or business use call, which I'll talk about in the next slide. From there, we'll step into customization. I'll talk about that as well. And then last, we like to set up time to train and onboard the new users in the hubs. The key thing to remember when implementing HubSpot is that I think a lot of people think you just purchase it, you plug it in, and we're rocking and rolling. That's not the case. As a partner agency, there's a lot of customization that goes in to make it reflective of the way you do business and your sales process. I want everyone to always remember that that foundation is critical with HubSpot. If you don't have that, you're going to see people not have buy-in. You're going to see things not being done the correct way and not reflective of your business. And you'll miss out on little nuggets of information in 5 years that you'll look back and say, man, I wish I had data on this. But had you implemented with a partner, they would have set those things up and triggers up so that you're collecting that, harvesting that, and you have historical reference for your business. So business strategy and use, that's the first step that we really look at when onboarding someone into HubSpot. What we like to do in that first initial conversation is we want to learn about your business. If you're working with our agency already, we probably have a really good idea of how that works. If you're new to us, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about your sales process. What does that look like? What is that typical journey for a prospect for you? How many calls do we have? What do we need to learn from them? and we'll really start to build this into a long list of items that we're going to actually take and then put into HubSpot and make it reflective of your sales process. So that way, when a sales user logs into their hub for the first time and they move that first conversation to the next deal stage, and they're prompted with 2 questions that say, in order to move it to this deal stage, you had to collect these 2 important things that business needs in the sales conversation. They'll actually understand that, and it'll just be seamless, and you'll start to collect those data points, so on and so forth. But after that business strategy and use conversation, we usually have enough information on our end to really, really start to customize the hub. We take that back internally, and we're going to build it out in HubSpot in numerous different ways and places. By that time, we'll probably want to set up another meeting with the implementation champion on the internal side, and we're going to review that and say, is this accurate? Is this what you said? Is this reflective of everything? Once that's blessed, we're going to move on to the 3rd stage, and it's actually where we start to train and implement employees into their hub. In this process, we usually like to do it in small teams. It really depends on the size of the organization. We've helped implement and onboard very small businesses with 1 to 5 sales users, all the way up to national companies, hundreds of millions in revenue, and hundreds of salespeople. On the large end, we probably explore a process we call train the trainer, where we like to train a few key power users and then have them take that out to their teams, so on and so forth, and train them. But on the small organization side, we usually have a small group meeting or a Zoom where we cover, how to actually get comfortable in here, get set up, connect your email, and get started using HubSpot and how. That's where I think there's a lot of value in working with a partner as well, where someone might have additional questions on just a general onboarding. Where working with a partner, we actually take the time to kind of answer those. We make ourselves available for a few meetings or hours after that training and implementation for anyone that has questions and says, wait a second, I'm confused, or I'm lost, or why is it this way? I think that's incredibly helpful in gaining traction and buy-in, and then helping build equity in the hub itself. I'm sorry, Lauren.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention in the training and implementation stage, that's really key, because that's when we get buy-in from the super users or the sales team. That way, whenever we're sliding out and they're using it day to day, people are actually wanting to use it, and they're not against it. So
that's a great point, and I think in our experience, after those training and implementation sessions, you actually start to see excitement in the sales users themselves. The light bulbs start going off of like, oh, this is going to help me. This is going to make my life easier. And that's when people start to get really excited and bought into the platform itself. Whereas my experience with other CRMs wasn't so much that way. So I actually get excited as well. I know our team really likes to sell it because it does help people. And whenever you're helping someone, it feels good. And I think a lot of people get value from it. So. So some of the things we cover in that business use and strategy meeting are mapping out the sales process. I know Lauren showed you the sample of the deal stage board there. That's actually a customizable board. It doesn't have to one size fits all. We actually learn those stages of your sales process. So sometimes there's multiple stages too. I know certain clients, they'll have different products, and that sales stage might be completely different for one than the other. We'll actually build those out into 2 different pipelines, customize each process on the steps that need to be in there, and then some other additional things here in the next stage that are very important as well. Defining custom properties. So a lot of CRMs have built-in name, address, business name properties that are built into the CRM. HubSpot actually has the ability to customize these in different areas. So on a certain deal stage, you might need certain pieces of information. If you're a home builder, we need to know roughly how many square foot this new job you're quoting is. That's important for someone internally. So we would actually build out that list or drop down that makes the salesperson capture that information in the deal conversation, so that we can use that when it gets to closed won, and we have to hand that information to the actual building team. Same with contacts and companies. Every organization has certain particular things they would like their salespeople to capture. So by customizing and building these in, we ensure that we can actually capture them. We can actually make them required as well in HubSpot, which is a nice feature. So the salesperson can't move from, say, first meeting to proposal sent unless we capture X, X, and X. It's really nice because you start to build informational equity in the system, and you're making sure that the salesperson isn't just saying like, great, shake hands, deal's closed, and then the service team has no idea even what they're doing. So it starts to eliminate confusion. It makes our conversations better from that handoff between sales, marketing, and service, and it really helps. The last thing we look at in that onboarding business use process is opportunities for automations and triggers. As I had said before, automations are like a whole nother world in HubSpot, and you can get pretty ornate and in-depth with them. Some of the cool ways that we use automations internally, you can use thank you email automations. What are some of the other ones that are really unique that we've used over the years or have done for other people?
Are you just saying about sales or in general?
In general, sales or even marketing automation. The same concept.
Yeah, I mean, in Marketing Hub, we had, for clients, we set up an automated email to go out for kids' birthdays. So, it would send out a reminder email that, oh, we have a promo going on, and then it would send it out like a week before their birthday, a day before their birthday. But it's really nice because it's kind of like set it and forget it in a way. Because once you turn it on, you don't have to do any work, and it's just constantly filtering in new contacts. And then also internally, something that is really useful for us, we have Service Hub, and whenever someone sends in a support ticket to our support desk, we are automatically notified in our Slack. So again, that's an integration that I mentioned earlier, and that ensures visibility across everyone. So we're always on top of that communication and making sure things get done.
Yeah, and in a sales, I guess, perspective there, we use it in certain deal stages where I think a great example is everyone's probably experienced in a sales setting where you talk to someone a couple times and then they just sort of kind of vanish on you. Every time you call them, no answer. Every time you email, no answer. It's really frustrating. It's not closed, it's not lost, we don't know where it is, it's in purgatory. So what we do, we've actually developed a deal stage category there called lead nurture. We know that there are those limbo ones that are out there. They're probably going to do something at some point. It's just maybe not now. We drop them in lead nurture. And then we actually have sales automation and email automation built into that category where after 60 days of inactivity, we have an automated email that goes out to them that says like, hey, we know you might not have made a decision. We're still interested in working with you. Feel free to reach out. And that just happens automatically. I never have to send that email. Sometimes actually people respond to it and I'm like, huh. Okay, it's kind of cool because then the salesperson is getting, revisiting conversations that they probably would have never done because that thing went silent 60 days ago. We moved on with our lives. So it's a way to kind of not forget there. But our team will, help define those with you, take a look at those with you, and then actually teach, your champions internally on how to build those so that, once we kind of slide out of the picture, and have the framework and understanding to go into that editor and actually start to build your own workflows. So it's pretty valuable. So the onboarding process, the customization. So Lauren here is actually doing a screen grab, which we'll make this available to everyone after the presentation, but Lauren's actually showing how to set up a custom property in HubSpot. I believe she's setting up, how many pets do you own? Say you're a vet clinic. This might be actual information that you want to gather. You just brought a dog in and we're working on the dog today, but maybe you have 13 other pets and that's an opportunity for the vet to make more money. So, we want to talk to you about cats as well as dogs, or you might own, another pet. So it's a custom property that we're going to want to build in there and make sure we capture that information so that, when someone follows up on a service call for, Rover the dog, oh, how's Rover doing after his surgery? Oh, he's doing really good. Oh, well, how about your other pets? They remembered that's going to be a positive, reinforcement to that prospect or that customer. It's a really nice way to capture that information and build it in there. Those customization properties, they can get they can really be wild. I mean, you can almost do anything in there, and we've seen some really unique ways of using it. I like to say with HubSpot, the world's your oyster with it, really.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you have a bunch of options whenever you're adding a new property. So I think that's when new users start to get really excited about their hub because they're starting to see it not just like out of the box, but they're seeing it, oh, I can really use this for information that's important to me. And then from there, you have the options to create a ton of automation like we just talked about based off these specific properties. So
yeah, and on top of it, even for sales conversations, you can actually go and filter your list and say, show me everyone that has more than 5 pets and hasn't responded to an email or a communication of ours in 30 days. So you can actually start to really drill down on your content on these live lists, and it's actionable. Then we can actually start to automate. Let's send them an email that says, hey, owning a ton of pets is, we know it can be daunting and busy. Like, talk to us. We'll handle all of your pet meds. So you can really start to have more relevant and timely conversations, and they're based on actual things that are relevant to those prospects or customers. That's when HubSpot really starts to get dangerous, because not only are you saving time, but you're improving the quality of your conversations with people.
yeah, exactly.
Again, we kind of talked about this. The 3 different record types in HubSpot, everything is handled at these 3 levels. So you have contact records, company records, and deal records. Deals, which I think other CRMs, some call them opportunities. It's basically the way we consider a deal is anytime money is discussed in a sales conversation. That qualifies for us as a deal. Those are handled in a separate record, which can be customized specific to a deal. Our team helps find out those items that we really need to have on that deal record. Company records, same thing. It's anything associated with the company. Everything's managed by a URL in HubSpot, so the company's URL ties everything together there, from their emails to the company information, and then we capture any custom records in there as well. Contact records, self-explanatory. They're anything about that individual at each company. Those contacts are associated with the company. The deals are associated with the company and the contacts, and so on and so forth, into a big giant loop of information. So the fun part, gaining traction and buy-in. I actually found this little GIF and I thought it was hilarious. Homer's sitting here saying, to start, press any key. Where's the any key? And what's funny to me is that I in my 2-3 years of doing these implementations and onboardings, I've realized that every sales user is going to vary in expertise, comfortability with technology, and just overall comfortability using a computer or technology. So that's always a challenge, and I think our agency has done a wonderful job at kind of capturing any person at any level and getting them welcomed, warmed up to, and comfortable in HubSpot. And it's a huge step that a lot of people kind of forget about. Again, going back to what I had mentioned about, if your team's not using your CRM, it's wasted money. You might as well have not even bought it. You have to get people to use it and use it on a daily basis. So some of the ways we gain traction and buy-in is in our process is really taking that hands-on training approach where we're sitting down and getting those people that aren't comfortable in there, and then showing them the value that it's going to add to their day. I know, people that have been at companies 20, 30 years, that they don't want to change. They're like, I've done it this way for 20 years. Why would I want to change? I feel that way sometimes too.
Yep.
But once you start to break down those walls and say, you're right, but we've customized it to follow that exact way you've been doing it for 20 years, it's just located in a different spot and it saves you 20 minutes a day or an hour a day. Then people start to wake up and say, you know what, this is exciting. I'm actually really happy I learned this because it's changing my life in a better way. It starts to make them more money as a salesperson, makes the company more money as an organization. Everyone's happy. So that's kind of the way we like to follow that. So the last point I want to talk about in the implementation phase is really building equity and how it's important to an organization. Getting your salespeople to use the CRM and sales automation is important. That's the number one step. But once they do start to do that, what happens? So, an organization will start to ingrain itself to the CRM where the salespeople can't live without it every day because it's helping them. And then the organization has all this built-in knowledge, equity, automation that is just working as this giant engine and flywheel that communicates with prospects, takes care of the current customers, helps the service team, service the customers. And it becomes this giant machine that is really just affecting the business in a positive manner. You almost can't see yourself without it. Some of the ways that this kind of happens that I want to mention is the HubSpot from free to starter to pro to enterprise. So people come into HubSpot at various different life cycles in their business, starting from the free version. Someone might say, I don't have the capital to jump up at that pro level where the automation is involved, but I do like some of those tools and I want to start using them. HubSpot has an option for you to get started in there. You'll get access to some of the technology, maybe not all of it. But once they start to leverage that and use it, and their business grows from maybe that little mom and pop or one person, one man band type business, and we start to have five or six employees, and we have a little bit more capital, maybe we jump up to the starter level or the pro level, and then we start to build those automations, and you start to find that those better conversations with your sales prospects and customers help grow the business. So then, as I mentioned down at the bottom here, I believe, where am I at here? Yeah, down at the bottom here, I'll mention that when it comes time to upgrade to those higher levels, you're not mad about spending more money on HubSpot. You're actually happy. You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is going to make us better. Again, builds excitement for management, ownership, and even the sales users. The daily use is a huge part too. As a salesperson myself, being able to manage everything in one spot is immensely critical. That's where you build the equity. That's where you make people's lives easier. That's where everyone knows where the information is, how to find it. It's super easy. We filter to look for this. It becomes such an important part of your daily use that you can't use anything else, and you don't want to use anything else. The historical customer and prospect data, that's one part we didn't really touch upon too much, but within HubSpot, between those company records, contact records, and deal records, it actually starts to gather and host all of that logged information that we've sent through our emails over time in one spot. Where it becomes really dangerous is that, say, sales manager wants to know how this certain deal's going. It can actually log right into HubSpot and see the communications that have been happening on this deal. Oh man, it's going badly. Maybe we need to jump in here. Maybe we need to send the A-team in for this or something. So like that is a use case. Also, say someone took a new job. What's been going on this account in the last year? We don't know. Someone can log right in and see the conversations, where things are at. Like, it's incredibly important there. Also, again, connecting sales, marketing, and service. The service team got a call that something's wrong with this customer's whatever it may be. They can actually look and see what was sold to them and say what was promised to them in the sales conversation, and it just creates this really nice flywheel there where everyone can see everything, and it helps improve communication. The next thing I'll talk about, and last thing, is just the ease of use of HubSpot. I've used other CRMs in the past. The way HubSpot is set up, it's incredibly user-friendly. I think this also helps to that building that adoption rate and the building equity and getting buy-in, where it's so easy that even someone that is less tech savvy or comfortable in technology, it's very easy for them to understand and use from a usability standpoint, and that helps with that buy-in. It helps get everyone comfortable, and it just avoids everyone's complication level going through the roof of being frustrated and annoyed.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest records that you're going to see in your hub, like contacts, companies, and deals, all of those views look exactly the same. So whenever you're switching between records, you're not finding it confusing. It's very easy to use.